tea is hot today. Hello friends, it's the Stitches. One of the most popular videos on my channel to date is a video I did about a year ago in which I emailed a bunch of different brands about their sustainability and ethical policies just to kind of see what kind of responses I would get. So in honor of passing my 1,000 follower milestone, I'm gonna do another video like that. This time I purposefully only selected 10 brands to email because I wanted my results to be much more realistic. My last video is much longer than this one is going to be. In that video, I sent emails to as many brands as I could think of so that I could get as many emails as I could, because realistically, most brands don't respond to emails like this. And I just wanted to share my findings with you guys. I want to give a little bit of a disclaimer that just because these brands emailed me and gave me this information does not mean that this information is factual, and it does not mean that just because they say that they're sustainable does not mean that they actually are sustainable in practice. There's a lot of reading between the lines that has to be done, and there's no law saying that a brand can't lie to you in an email. Take everything that is said here with a massive grain of salt. The 10 brands that I selected to email were Yobe, Unzi, Chris's Sparkles, Fashion Brand Company by Penelope Gazin, Irregular Choice, Tuck UK, Juku Store, Why Are You, Moku Yobe, and Cyberdog. There are some other popular brands like Forever 21, Lazy Oaf, Unif that I covered in my last video, so I didn't want to rehash the same information here. So these are all brands that I have not sent this email to before, so these are all fresh answers. So the actual email that I sent states, "Hello, I am a big fan of your brand and aesthetic. However, it is really important to me that the brands I buy from are as sustainable and ethical as possible. I'm sure you are aware that the fashion industry has long been plagued by sweatshops. I have taken initiative as a consumer to stop supporting companies that willingly support the evils of this industry and instead support companies that are committed to paying their workers a living wage and combating climate change. It is because of this that I am sending this message. What is your brand's position on these issues? What kind of initiatives has your brand taken to improving the planet for our future? I am very interested in knowing as much as I can about your factory worker conditions and the country of origin of the products as well. Thank you so much for your time. My name." Within 24 hours of sending my email, I got responses from Irregular Choice, Tuck, and Moku Yobe. No other brands replied to my original string of emails. So about a week later, I sent my second round of emails. And after sending these and sort of widening my search on the emails that I sent, I did get a response from Cyberdog. And that was the only brand that replied in the second week. So I waited another week and sent a third string of emails, and none of the remaining 6 brands responded. I feel like I shouldn't have to send a 4th email. So I've decided to grade all of these companies from A to F, standard grading system. So automatic Fs to the 6 companies that did not respond to me. Their names are Yobe, Unzi, who receives a special F- for making their emails especially hard to find, Why Are You, Fashion Brand Company, Juku Store, and Chris's Sparkles. Now obviously I can't say if any of these companies are sustainable or not. Maybe these companies are fine and my email just kind of got through the cracks, who knows? But avoiding customer concerns? Not a good sign. Now let's get into the brands that I did receive responses from. We're gonna start semi-strong with Irregular Choice. Thank you for your email. Irregular Choice shoes are made in 3 factories in China. We take 95% of all production from them, with some extra production taking place in Portugal. We have our own designated inspector in each of these family-run factories who we have been working with for many years now and have regular meetings with the owners and UK Irregular Choice staff. There is absolutely no child labor or forced labor, and the workers only work the hours permitted under Chinese law. As we produce Disney licensed products, there is also a very strict level of inspection for the factories that produce any part of these items down to the packaging, printer, and embroidery specialists. Regarding ethical sourcing of materials, we buy in materials to make our shoes from hundreds of different sources. I think it's supposed to say we buy materials to make our shoes from hundreds of different sources. And many considerations go into which we choose and for what reason. Durability, cost, finish, supply, etc. are all very important in these decisions. However, there's rarely any possibility for us to check how these are manufactured and if the impact of their production upon the environment, human or ecological, is negative or sustainable. We could indeed ask all of our suppliers if a product we use of theirs is vegan or sustainable and ethical in this case. However, we would then be beholden to their honesty in this respect. We are bound in this respect to say that we can't account that every thread, dye, bead, or fabric in our products can be ethically accounted for due to this. One thing I can say for sure is that all of our European store deliveries and 50% of our website order deliveries are made by DPD, who operate a carbon neutral policy. So whenever we can choose the best path, we will. I hope this helps, and please let me know if you have any questions. Kind regards, Peggy, Irregular Choice Customer Service. This response gets a B-. It's good, it's decent. There are some things that I'd like to talk about it. So obviously factories in China, they say that they're good factories, but China definitely does have a reputation for having poor labor control. They have their own designated inspector. They don't specify if this inspector is actually employed by Irregular Choice or if they're a third-party inspector that they employ. They also state that they have regular meetings between the factories and Irregular Choice staff, so it is good that somebody from Irregular Choice is actually going to the country of origin and looking at where their products are made. That's always a very good sign. But they don't specify how often regular is. Regular can mean once a year, it can mean once every 5 years, it can mean once a month, it can mean anything. They might not be going over regularly enough to get a whole picture of how the factory does things. It is good that they specify that there is no child labor and no forced labor. And then we have the couple of paragraphs where they talk about their material sourcing. It is sad that they aren't willing to try to have more accountability with their materials, but it's also good that they're at least honest about it. I would rather a company be honest and have that transparency that we try to know where our materials are coming from, but not all people in every part of the chain are willing to disclose all information. So it could be that some of their material sources aren't willing to disclose how they're made, which is iffy. It means that there probably is some unethical materials being used in their production process. But again, at least they're honest about that. The carbon emissions just feels like a little tacked on at the end because I talked about climate change, but I mean, at least they're thinking about that. So, solid B-. My next response is from Cyberdog. This is the only company that didn't reply right away. I kind of had to chase them down. And their email says, "Hello, Cyberdog clothing is designed and made in London. Basic t-shirts are made in our own small factory in India for over 20 years, but they are printed and finished in London. We use organic cotton for our t-shirts and are experimenting with 100% recycled cotton, but the colors at the moment are not how we want them to be. We do make accessories in China, but we have checked the factories we work with before starting to work with them. Thanks for your time, S." So the last email came from customer service. We got a very customer service response. This is very short. Who is S? What authority does this person have in the company? How knowledgeable are they? I still would give this response a solid C. It's about average. The t-shirts are made in India, which isn't the greatest sign, but at least they're printed and finished in London, so you know this final stage of production is good. Organic cotton is obviously much easier on the environment than traditional cotton. It is definitely good that they're using organic cotton, and they should be praised for that. They should be given their dues for that. And I also like that they're experimenting with 100% recycled cotton. Experimenting does not necessarily mean that it will ever make it into production or become the norm for their company, but at least they're looking into it, I guess. But I am concerned about the accessories being made in China. So it says we check the factories we work with before starting to work with them. It would obviously be better to check in with them regularly as the conditions can change. Like, are they too trusting of this company or do they not care that this company might have, you know, had the factory looking really good for that one day that they came in to look at it, but if you're not regularly inspecting it, you know, buildings change over time, staff changes over time, you never know. Overall, it seems to be okay depending on what you want to buy, but at least like their main clothing, the clothing that they're known for, their very wild pieces, claim to be made in London. So if you're looking for something like that, maybe it would be okay to buy that from them, but again, it's kind of iffy. It's a C. It could be a lot better, but at the same time, it could also be a lot worse. Next, we have Moku Yobe. Nice to hear from you. It is important to be a conscious consumer. As you probably know, all our products are made in the USA in factories where the workers make a fair wage. We like to support workers in our own communities. We source our materials from the USA whenever possible, and when we import, we only deal with reputable companies that guarantee fair wages and good working conditions. Making locally cuts down on shipping, which avoids the pollution caused by sending products around the world. All our bags also come with a lifetime warranty, so you only need to buy one bag if you ever wish. Best, Alex, Moku Yobe. Again, who is Alex? We don't know. This is a B. I don't have a ton of notes. They make the bulk of their stuff in the USA from companies where they make a fair wage. What is a fair wage? We don't know, but that's at least minimum wage in the United States, which is better than a lot of countries. There are studies that have stated that as much as 50% of American factories could be considered sweatshops, but I think it's more of like a locational thing. Some states obviously have a much lower minimum wage than others. At least people can feed themselves. They also state that they source most of their materials from the USA, or at least whenever possible. I don't know how often that is, but the vast majority of their stuff seems to be made out of cotton. I'm assuming most of that is US grown cotton. I'm hoping most of that is USA grown cotton. When they do import, there's no mention of standards or inspections or if they check them in person or not. I know material sourcing is a bit trickier in that regard, so the answer is they're probably not, but who knows? There's little mention of waste or sustainability, but again, as a whole, this could be much worse. At least their people are making a wage that is more than not enough. B minus, somewhere in there. Could be better. So finally, we've gotten to Talk UK, and I can say that this is the longest email that I received. Let's read through this novel that they sent me.
Hi Catherine, many thanks for your concerns about the people who work so hard to bring you your shoes. We share your concerns wherever those people might be within the supply chain. I am a fourth generation shoemaker and started my career in my family's factories in England, where the culture really was one of a single family of all employees.
Many people worked for us for their entire 50-year careers, and we all cared about each other. I have tried to bring that culture to Tuck, both for our US-based staff and our staff and factory partners in Asia. We started our own company in China over 10 years ago to specifically maintain our high standards. Every employee has healthcare, every employee was treated with respect. We now manufacture a very high proportion of our shoes in our own factory, partly to make sure that local standards are exceeded. We have our own dedication team of QC staff who are constantly inspecting our external partner vendors, not just for product quality, but also for safety standards and basic human rights adherence that you and I can take for granted. We try to address every single angle, whether it is to ensure that no underage workers are employed, that working conditions and hours are safe and in line with regulations at a minimum, and that environmental and ethical standards are enforced. We care about our people and the world they live in. I travel to Asia personally about 8 times a year. I personally vet every manufacturing unit Tuck touches. I do my utmost to ensure that my philosophy of respect and fairness are followed. We understand that we are only a very small part of a big world, but we are doing our best to make a positive impact whenever we can. As much as anything, we are always striving to make better quality shoes for our customers. In supporting our vegan friends, we understand that many alternative materials are petrochemical based. We are searching for something better, but as yet have not found anything practical, but have stopped using most leather products outside of cow suede, where we feel the quality of natural suede has many valuable properties. We try to offer alternatives, though, for those who desire to follow a stricter path. We are shifting our fabrics to organic materials, while also researching the use of PETs in fabrics that are functional and breathable. These are developing fast, and we are monitoring the progress. In the immediate future, we are changing our tissue protective packaging to be made from 100% PET material. We are using insoles based on recycled materials and actively testing improved materials in that area. We use natural rubber whenever possible as an outsole material. We have started our own production facility specifically so that we can keep full control of our process while actively reducing waste and recycling wherever possible. In general, our philosophy is to always strive to be better and to always try to build better shoes for our customers, but in a way that protects our environment for our customers' grandchildren and beyond. We cannot provide all of the answers, but we can make every effort to try to minimize our own footprint for the benefit of those that follow. Like you, I want to leave the world a better place than kindnesses that have been paid to me. In turn, I would like to thank you, our customers, for supporting us and sharing in our goal of building a better world. Cheers, Ian White, president and founder of Tuck.
So the thing that obviously stood out to me first is that this came from the president of Tuck, not a member of staff, not a random person in the office, not a customer service representative, but the actual founder. That kind of speaks volumes. This is the only A I've received, however, it is an A-, but we're going to talk about why. So, first of all, they use, it seems like one factory in China that they run themselves, and that's clearly a good sign. If you only have one factory, that's fewer things to maintain. Every employee has healthcare. Now, it doesn't say what kind of healthcare, but at least they have healthcare. I think it's funny that they include every employee is treated with respect, because what does that actually mean? Who knows? There's also this line, we try to address every angle, whether it is to ensure no underage workers are employed, that working conditions and hours are safe and in line with regulations at a minimum, and that environmental and ethical standards are enforced. That sentence doesn't actually mean that they're doing those things. It means that they've thought about doing those things. So there's no guarantee that those are actually happening. They just think that you'd like it if they were doing those things. When they say things like, we try, we would like to, we are aspiring to. There's a big difference between we would like to language and we are language. The one thing that I have received that really like sealed the deal for this, for me to think that this is a decent company and not an iffy company, like the one thing that made this an A instead of a C was the I travel to Asia personally about 8 times a year. So they're saying that the founder of Tuck, because he's the one that wrote this email, goes to their Asian factory, I'm assuming is what that means, and not just like, I have a vacation in Asia 8 times a year, but like, I'm assuming that this means that they go to their factory 8 times a year to see what's going on. Maybe not give it a thorough inspection, but at least the person who is in charge is actually going to the factory and saying, yes, this is how my shoes are being made. Not only is this a good response because it has that specificity. It says exactly how often. Obviously 12 times a year would be the most ideal, but you know, founders are busy. I can understand only being able to go 8 times a year. It's better than no times a year. So that's definitely something that stands out to me as a good thing, as a actually we are trying type of thing. And then also they do state that they're we are shifting our fabrics to organic materials. We are shifting, meaning that right now, currently, they do use inorganic materials. But right now, there's so much going on in the industry in terms of fabric and new materials being sourced and invented, and lots of research is going into like leather alternatives. And since this is a shoe company, I imagine that there is a lot of research and things that they just kind of have to wait on. Unfortunately, the harsh, honest truth is that plastic does not last as long as leather, and plastic doesn't degrade at the same rate as leather. So not only does plastic shoes not last as long as shoes, but then after they lose the ability to be shoes, they can't break down. It just kind of becomes like chunks of plastic in the environment. Whereas leather will last a long, long time. When it finally does get to that point where it's not a shoe anymore, it will eventually completely biodegrade. There is hope though. Mushroom leather is being researched. Other alternative leathers are coming into the world. Unfortunately, they're very, very expensive still. They're not common yet. They're not a thing that you can just like order up and be like, hey, I need 100 pounds of vegan leather out of this mushroom material. Like, that's not a thing that brands can do yet. But it's good they're, you know, keeping their ear to the ground about that. So I really don't want to say that anything in this is necessarily bad, because it is an email that definitely shows that they're putting an effort. It seems like they do genuinely care about these issues. Unfortunately though, some of the way that this email is structured does make it seem like they're doing more than they actually are. That's a common thing that you're gonna find in these types of responses. That's why you kind of have to be able to really dig through that grammar and really understand exactly what is being said to you, because brands will try to trick you into thinking that they're saying more than they actually are. That's why you get these thick sentences like "we try to" with all of these buzzwords in it. There's no actual guarantee that any of that is actually happening. So, you know, not a perfect score, but it does seem that they are putting in that effort. It does seem like they're at least knowledgeable on the issues. Sometimes you send an email to a company and they don't even know what you're freaking talking about. Like, they just don't care. Obviously, at least this company is trying. Those are all of the responses that I got to this round of email sending. Let me know if you want any more of these videos, if you have any more brands that you want me to email. I know somebody wanted me to do a video specifically on Forever 21 and H&M. Honestly, I feel like both of those companies could have entire videos dedicated to them about how bad they are, but I feel like there's a lot of videos out there about how bad they are from non-kawaii people, so I kind of have that on the back burner. It does take a while to make these kind of videos because I have to do research and that sort of thing, and then I of course have to wait for companies to actually respond to me. So if you buy from these companies, that's totally okay. You can have whatever morals and ethics you personally want to subscribe to. I just want people to have the information available so that they can make the best educated decisions. You can come to whatever conclusion you want. This is just the facts. Facts. That's it for today's video. I will see you all next time. Bye!